the Maori folks. Shoot.
This guitar things are way worse.
Yeah. Alright, so this is the Maori folktale called The Unseen, and I did some drawings while I'm telling it. Alright, so this is how it will start.
I'm just gonna do that so we don't see it.
Light filtered through the canopy of manuka trees, trapping the summer's day like a duvet over the winter's bed. The three young boys, Boots, Fats, and Jimmy Boy, negotiated their way along the narrow dirt track, laden with an assortment of sleeping bags, pots, and kitchen utensils. Tina, Fat's German shepherd, scouted ahead, returning momentarily with drooling tongue and eyes ablaze. Jimmy Boy turned his back to the overgrown branches that blocked the pathway and pushed himself into the clearing. Fats, unfortunately, copped the recoil of the fun on the side of their head. Jeez, Jimmy, you idiot. Watch what you're doing, man. But Jimmy Boy and Boots had already dropped their gear and run where a huge gum tree stretched its branches to the sky. Soon, after a series of big-time wrestling moves in the long grass, the boys pitched their tent in the flattened area they had created. This is awesome, eh, bro? Fats slouched against the large tree trunk, watching the other two finish banging pegs into the ground. We're like survivors on TV, stranded on a desert island, Fats continued. Jimmy Boy stopped what he was doing and looked over at Fats. Except we've got a tent, sleeping bags, a torch, and heaps of canned food from your mom's pantry. Fat's eyes lit up. That's right, food. I'm sure it's Kai time, which I'm assuming is like dinner there. Fats crawled along the ground on all fours, sniffing and growling like a hungry bear. As soon as he was close enough, Boots was on his back, riding him to the ground. Not so fast, Papa Bear. Baby Bear is hungry too, you know. Jimmy Boy was soon knocking them both over, and another play fight ensued. Later that afternoon, the three friends lay on their bellies, sharing a large can of fruit salad, their heads poking from the triangular doorway to the tent. Tina rolled on her back in the evening light, desperately trying to satisfy a persistent itch. Evening turned to night. Shadows danced around the nylon ceiling as the boys talked, laughed, and huddled in their sleeping bags. Oh yeah, I forgot that one. What do you mean you're not scared of ghosts? Boots propped himself up on one elbow, shining the torch at Jimmy Boy. It's all about belief, man. Didn't you go to church? Like a holy ghost. Fats thought he'd add his 2 cents worth. Eh? Boots was becoming more confused. It's the ghost with holes in it. Fat's eyes grew wide as he stretched his hands in front of Boots as if casting a spell. If you don't believe in ghosts, then how can you see one? Jimmy Boy put on a serious tone. Boots wasn't convinced. Don't question the unseen. Fats quickly grabbed Boots by the throat, the unseen bony hand strangling your dirty neck. Tina's barks stopped them all from launching into another play fight. Instead, they wriggled themselves to the other end of the tent and pulled up the zipper. Tina could be heard scrambling around in the undergrowth. Boots gripped the torch, its blue beam scanning the darkness. Suddenly, Tina went quiet, and so did the three boys. A hissing screech broke the silence, and Tina was back into action. What was that? Fats moved closer to Boots. The next screech sounded closer.
Perfect timing.
Tina suddenly bounded from the bush. The three boys screamed at once, heading quickly in reverse. Their sleeping bags pulled up around their ears. The screeching intensified. Fats grabbed the torch from Boots. Boots grabbed the butter knife, and Jimmy Boy grabbed a can of baked beans. The three boys stared, wide-eyed, ears fixed, huddled together in desperation. What is it? There's someone out there. Boots looked at Jimmy Boy for a reaction. Fats stared wide-eyed at the other two. It's Dracula. I'm sure of it. It's like that movie. Shut up, Fats. It's not Dracula. Jimmy Boy hardly sounded convincing. The screeching shifted in tone, and a growling hiss took over. Tina and whatever it was outside were in a full-on fight. The boys screamed when a dark shape jumped on the tent. Tina followed close behind, collapsing the tent inwards.
The big beans are my favorite.
Yeah. The boys yelled at the top of their lungs until, just as suddenly as it had started, the whole ruckus stopped. The three boys lay for some time, too scared to move. Slowly they pulled the poles back into position and made their way to the front entrance. Fats scanned the immediate vicinity. Tina's eyes pierced the darkness like glowing lights. The three boys jumped and screamed for the third time that night. Fats called Tina over when they realized it was over. Good girl. You were protecting us, eh? What are you talking about? You almost got us killed. Boots was still shaking. She did not. Jimmy Boy interrupted. She's got fur all around her mouth. It was probably a possum. Fats took a closer look. Or one of Dracula's kids! Boots was already heading back into the safety of the tent, with Fats following close behind. Jimmy Boy was left at the entrance by himself. Whatever, he doesn't chickens. Boots gripped his sleeping bag extra tightly. If you're not scared, why don't you go and have a look? More scuffling sounds were heard outside. Jimmy Boy pulled down the door zipper and quickly rolled over to the others. Sweet ass. I guess that means just fine.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Fats gripped the torch, reminding the others that it belonged to his father. A hooting moorpork could be heard calling in the distance. The three boys lay in silence, listening to the sounds of the night. It took 2 hours before they finally fell asleep. The next morning, they found animal fur scattered around the camp, but no dead possum. Tina must have carried it off somewhere. The others agreed to what Fats had suggested, but none of them were interested in finding it. Could have been one of those ghosts you're not scared of. Boots laughed as they walked the track towards home. I wasn't scared, Jimmy Boy stated. Boots laughed even harder. What was the baked beans Ken for then? Fats was laughing too. Jimmy Boy couldn't help but join in. What about the torch, Fats? Oh, it's my dad's! So I have to hold on to it. And your butter knife, Boots? Did you want to butter your chicken sandwich? As the three boys continued home, they laughed and carried on about their night in the bush, recalling every detail of what happened, who was scared, who wasn't, and what they'd do if it ever happened again. There was one thing they had all agreed on by the time they reached home. No one would ever find out how scared they really were on the night they were attacked by an unseen furry ghost.
That's awesome.
Okay, so Dylan, though, there's more, right? There's like what it meant to you, what your response was, what it made you think, like what connections you had to it.
Oh, yeah.
That was mean.
What was the point of that?
No.
Still filming.
Still taping. Answer those
Hey, I
questions.
didn't.
So what does the story mean?
Sort of like, they didn't.
Have you ever felt scared of something that you? Have you ever gone camping and been afraid of something that you didn't know about?
I'm not sure. I might have.
All right. Have you ever heard of anybody that has? Have you ever heard a similar story?
I guess sort of, yeah.
Do you think that the boys learned anything through their experience?
Don't go camping alone.
Why do people tell this story? What is the point of this story? What are you supposed to gain from this story?
I guess you can never really have a strong assumption on, or you can never really predict what's gonna happen
And why is it called the unseen?
because they can't see it.
Okay, and what are they telling us about the unseen? Are they saying the unseen doesn't exist? Or
No,
the unseen
But
exists?
they're not saying it doesn't exist, but they're
Ah.
not saying it technically exists.
Okay, so what could that mean?
It could mean that
Let's equate it to religion.
okay,
What does that tell us about religion? Like, if I say to you, well, you can't believe in
Everyone has
God
different
because I don't
beliefs.
see him.
well, everybody has different beliefs.
Okay, so do beliefs, things you believe in, do you have to be able to see them?
No, it's a belief.
So I want you to think about that.
Lucas, stop it.
It's not doing anything.
I want you to think about that, Dylan, and really think about why this story is told then. So what are they trying to teach us or tell us? What is kind of the moral? What do you think? If you take it to that broad place of just belief.
Yes, everybody has their own beliefs, but it's unknown what really is out there.
Huh. I like that. And I think there's part two where it says, like, just because you can't prove it doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Anybody
can't
else?
always have proof for everything.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions for Dylan or things you want to add?
I think it's kind of told that you fear the things you can't see because you can't fathom how bad they actually will be. So like if you like a person that gets really anxious about like the future because you can't see it and you don't know what's gonna happen, it's sort of like a story that it's because in the whole story it's them in the moment of them telling like because at night it seems like time is all sort of at once because you can't really tell. It's always like it's usually always dark, and so they're in a place where they don't know. So all they have to grasp, that they like have to think of is their fear. So then the longer they're like thinking about their fears, the more real the fears are, and then what if it's Dracula, or what if it's his kids, or
Yeah.
what if, and then they try and talk themselves down, but it's not until you come out on the other side that you can see, well, something happened, but it wasn't as bad as Dracula or something.
You've got a really strong point there.
Anybody else? Good. Thank you.